Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Week 3, Day 3 of Proving Grounds coverage, where we find ourselves wrapping up Round 1 of the lower bracket today. I'll be your host, you can call me Kangas, and I'm joined by the lovely Smacks and Mad Magical. Is that you, or is this like a persona that you have with the sunglasses on? I'm not sure. All right, I guess we're not getting an answer from Mad Magical. All right, thank you, Mad Magical, for coming on and filling in for Mazel today. Or rather, filling in for Rafa today.
I was about to say, don't do my boy Returdy like that. It's Rafa. He wasn't feeling very well, so I'm stepping in for today.
If you were really trying to sub in for Rafa, you'd have drip on, though. I don't see a chain.
True.
I don't see any jewelry. I don't see it. I mean, the sunglasses are cool.
All right,
I will
hold
give
on.
you that.
Give me a sec. Just keep
All
talking.
right. While Magical's grabbing that, Smacks, we have 2 more best of 3s ahead of us in the lower bracket, and we're going to be bidding farewell to 2 more teams as well today, because with double elim in the lower bracket, we do actually have teams that we will be saying goodbye to. It's sad that we're already at this point in Proving Grounds, but hey, that's just how competition is.
Yeah, I'm really excited. We have lower bracket games for the rest of the week, so we're going to be saying goodbye to a good chunk of teams, which is very tragic. I'm very sad to see all of our friends go, but at the same time, that's just how this tournament is going to go. We got to find out who the best of the best really is, and it might be some of the teams today.
Now, have we filled long enough, Magical? Oh, wow. All right, that is literal drip as it is sliding off of your face.
I got chains.
Before it's many chains right there. Before we get into the show at hand, though, and get into the teams that we're going to be seeing today, we want to update everybody on what's going on in Champs Queue, because, of course, that's been the big talk of the town this entire split this spring. It was really cool. Season 1 ended. We had, I believe, 5 Academy players in the top 10. So we're going to keep track, of course, on all the players from Academy and how they rank in Champs Queue right now. Dokla, no surprise, still at the top, Magical, and a team that you know very well. A lot of Cloud9 members up there, too.
Oh, yeah. I saw that. I was like looking Fen, looking at Malice, looking at Isles as well.
It's so blue.
It's very, very blue at the top, because we got CLG, we got Dokla and Breezy as well. Cowrie, who's doing well. He did really well last time, still in the top 10. I'm looking at these players, and they're really trying to prove their stuff, say that we are the top of these prospects that you need to pick up, because we're even besting the LCS players in this Champions Queue.
Strong correlation between time spent in Champions Queue and performance on the Rift as well. If you've been watching any YouTube highlight clips of popular streamers and co-streamers of the LCS, maybe that's a narrative that you're going to be following as well throughout this split. But that's Champions Queue updated so far. Now let's take a look at the bracket and how things have shaken out so far this week. Again, we'll find ourselves in the lower bracket, and Smacks, we're already saying goodbye to teams, and it makes me sad.
I know, we were just talking about that one before. We have 2 more goodbyes for tonight as well, with the round 1 of the lower bracket really closing out today. And yeah, we already have some pretty cool matchups from the winners yesterday as well. Dignitas Academy versus Taco Gaming, and then Fly Academy versus Evil Genius's Prodigies. I believe those 2 matches are happening tomorrow, if my memory serves correctly.
Yes, those ones will be going on tomorrow. As today will be on the bottom left of that. And because we're at the stage where we're starting to say goodbye to teams every single day, we wanted to catch up and kind of give our thoughts of how teams performed that are now out of the tournament, and specifically look at some individual players that we think stood out in this this spring split Proving Ground. So Smacks, I know that you had a couple of prepared. Let's start with Evil Genius's Academy. Is there a standout player for you from this Proving Grounds?
Truly, there are a few standout players here on Evil Genius's Academy, namely Cowrie as well. We've been talking about him a lot, but my eyes specifically are on Surdy from this team. Surdy, he may not have had the best performance yesterday, but he has been showing up a lot all throughout the entire split, namely in lane. When this guy is in peak performance, he will just crush you in that aspect of the game, Kangas. It is brutal. He will solo kill you every single time. So many different carries that he has in his back pocket to play as well. Surdy is a player that I think we're going to be watching for many years in North America. And once he figures out how to be stability in every single game, I think that he will be one of the best in the whole region.
That's the thing, Magical. When we look back at the Academy season, we knew Surdy had these highs, and we saw some of that in Proving Grounds as well. But the thing is, consistency for this player. That's what we're looking forward to, seeing how he develops going forward.
Well, what I always love about watching Surdy is there's some times where he just goes for the wildest plays by himself to get that solo bolo at level 1, level 2. And because it's also a coin flip play, it'll go the opposite way half the times as well.
Sometimes.
So he's willing to do those plays, and I always like that he's at least aggressive, wanting to find these advantages for himself, not relying on others to create it for him.
Of course. But then again, we had to bid farewell to 2 teams, and that means 2 players that we want to highlight. Smacks, I know that you were also looking at Griffin as the other player that we're bidding farewell to already early on after 2 series we saw from this player. But talk to me about the ups of this very young prospect.
So, fun fact about me and Griffin, I have been casting him for, this is the 3rd year in a row. Back when he was 13, he was playing in Diamond Leagues, and he was smurfing. Don't tell the Diamond League, but he was a lot better than all the other players, and I knew it. So I was really excited to see him finally old enough to play in Amateur, and this split has been as exciting as I was hoping for as well. These games have shown to me that his mechanics are only growing, and he's really been a player that I've been so excited to watch for all of this time. I think we're going to be watching this player for many years to come as well in the jungle.
Of course, Griffin, somebody that we'll keep our eyes on, but the big story, everybody, as you can probably tell, Taco Gaming, I'll say it again, TG were the first amateur team to actually take down an academy team. That was a big moment for every fan, everybody who works in amateur, all the coaches, staff, managers, everybody who's trying to create this pipeline to promote players up to the academy level. They got their win. It happened. And I'm very happy that our Dark Horse prediction actually was ran incorrectly, because I initially said Evil Geniuses Academy was my Dark Horse that would make
No, you originally said TSM Academy.
I'm lucky. I'm lucky that happened, because Taco Gaming looked devastating.
Well, you might not be so lucky later today as we're going to watch them. We're going to find out, though. But yeah, big congratulations to Taco Gaming. I'm so proud of them. These guys have been really on a tear throughout the entirety of the Proving Grounds qualifier circuit. They, of course, did hit 2nd place in the 2nd qualifier, only losing to No Team. And I specifically want to highlight Cozy. Cozy had a really big knockout performance on this NAR game and the other games that we saw of him. I was really happy.
And the crazy thing is just how wild the entire series was. That one in particular, the end of the game, that game 3, so emotional, so impactful, and you could tell, Smack says, you're still celebrating Taco Gaming, and I respect it. I just want to give props to all the players and the staff over on that side of things. And of course, bid farewell, the Evil Geniuses Academy as the team that did drop against the amateur team. Taco Gaming are now a threat here in the lower bracket. I think a lot of the academy teams are going to be sweating. We know Dignitas is next up on their list, so hopefully they're doing their VOD reviews and checking in on all of that. But with that said, we also did have a chance to sit down with the player yesterday and have a chat with them leading into their next match. So I'm going to send it over to a quick clip where Mazel chatted with Cozy.
What is the key to success for Taco Gaming? What's the engine that runs at the heart of the team? What keeps you guys going?
I think everyone is really close to each other, and I think everyone is key. Like, we can play to any side to win.
So there you have it. Got a chance to chat with one of the players after that impactful victory as well. It's awesome to see. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see him actually talking, but at least we got a picture of him up on this stream. But with that said, that's a big narrative coming into the day. And now, honestly, it might be a weight off the shoulders of some of the other academy teams. Like, all right, it's not us. We're not the first one.
Oh man, you know, you might be right about that one. At the same time, I mean, for Taco Gaming, it's got to be a huge celebration for them as well. Previously, amateur versus academy was 1-20, a little bit bleak, honestly, but Taco Gaming tripled that number in the win column. That's pretty impressive.
That's crazy. Very impressive stuff. And with that said, though, we do have one other matchup between academy and amateur teams today. So let's take a look forward and actually look at our predictions going into the day, who we think is actually favored in some of these matches. Because, of course, the big one that we're starting off with is actually 2 amateur teams against each other, Winthrop University versus 100 Thieves next. And, all right, that's a lot of red on the bottom of our screens right there. Looks like we got a lot of 100 Thieves believers, but Magical, you have a win for Winthrop, so I'm going to make you actually defend their side. How does Winthrop pick up a win?
I mean, I don't know how they're going to do it. They're just going to do it. It's about believing in the heart of the cards, my dude. You should know better than anybody on this. But I look at this, and with the fact that this is an elimination match for both teams, I also heavily believe in the second seed curse that a lot of teams have had in the past. And 100 Thieves Next, they could stop it right here, but I believe that's going to bite them a little bit, and they're going to lose a game because of it.
Honestly, I can believe it. I can believe it. Smacks, we already have our thoughts of that curse, and also the Fnatic, the player who's on the other side of that curse, knocking out the second seed Academy teams traditionally. But we both have 2-0 for our predictions. Of course, that's our first series of the day. We also will have Immortals AoE versus TSM Academy as the second series. So make sure you stick around for the full day of games. But with that said, we will be sending it to a short break before we're back and ready to chat about that first match and give our thoughts. So we'll be right back after this.
Welcome to another episode of On the Range, y'all. This week, we're going to be taking a look over at the Proving Grounds, see what kind of creatures we got to wrestle ourselves. Let's get on to it now, shall we? We got Cowrie here. He's got a little 9-iron on his hip. He's letting that sucker fly. Woo! He's going to get him, too. Gosh darn it, it's coming for us. It's right behind us. We got to keep on going. Kaido, get him. Get him. Oh, my God, Kaido, you didn't need to do that, but I appreciate you. Wait, what's this? Is Viper coming over, too? Viper, stop it. We're being sneaky, and we're going to pounce on him. We're going to be eating good tonight. Toast is going to lay a little trap on now for Philip, but he's going to throw the whole kit and caboodle at him, too, but he don't even get Philip in free. We find old Gamsu under turret here. He's going to find himself in a bit of a prickly situation. Them prickly bears sure do bite. He's in a 1v5 under tower, but just like the legends of the Old West, he will never, ever die. Remember the Alamo! Remember the Alamo! Woo! We got some mighty fine critters out there in the Proving Grounds. Gotta say, it's been nice to see some new ones out there, but gotta keep a tight leash on those wild ones. We'll see you next time on The Range.
Oh my goodness, that content gets me every time. That's one of my favorite bits that we do on this show. But welcome back, everybody, as we're now prepared for a best of 3 to kick off the day between Winthrop University, the last collegiate representative here at Proving Grounds, versus 100 Thieves Next, the team that we coined as the best hope for amateur coming into the event. I want to start the conversation on the collegiate side of things here because Winthrop University, this is a team that, again, they literally just got second place in their conference, dropping to UST, I believe, just last week. So not the best finish that they were hoping for in their Southern Conference. Still, good shot going into collegiate finals. So that's what we're looking at for this team. Not necessarily how deep of a run do they make here at Proving Grounds. That would be fantastic if they can make a deep run, Smacks. But we also have the context that this is a team that's preparing. And I'm just now realizing as I look at my screen, Magical's literally
he's ironclad magical.
And I haven't addressed this because I didn't see it until right now, but now I feel like I have to address it. But Smacks, honestly, let's just ignore him. Talk to me about Winthrop University.
Well, I'm also a bit thrown off here by magical, but I'm excited.
You guys told me to wear chains if I'm subbing in for Rafa, and I got the chain.
I said wear drip. This is not drip magical.
Says you.
Well,
what kind of
maybe it's drip from like 800
All right, I'm
AD.
overriding this. I'm going to talk about Winthrop. They actually are the defending CLaw champions from last year.
Yep.
And they've got a whole bunch of new players on this roster. Most notably to me is their top laner here, Mabud. I've been really enjoying watching Mabud play. He's been playing a lot of split pushers up in the top lane. And sometimes, guys, they just first pick him Tryndamere on blue just to see if it'll work. And usually it does. These guys, he is very, very good as champion, as we can see him team fighting very well on it also. And he's been one of the most consistent performers on this roster as well, alongside Vex in the bottom lane. We have some pretty big carries on this team. And for the entirety of Winthrop, yes, as you said, Steve, they are really looking just to have the highest competition to hone their skills so that they can be competitive in CLaw. And it's worth noting, too, that them alongside Maryville are the first collegiate teams to ever participate in the main Proving Grounds event.
They are.
That's a good point as well. Yeah. Sir Magical, did you have a point there?
Yeah, I was about to say, it's like when we looked up the stats earlier, we actually realized that Maryville, the 2 teams that were in the play-ins, and then Winthrop here were the first collegiate teams to ever make the Proving Grounds, at least to this stage. And I even want to focus on Mabud a little bit more, because this player, I mean, looking at the stats, is fairly new to competitive. This guy has had quite the terror, though, joining in with the collegiate team. I mean, what was it, his first team that he's actually ever competed with?
He's had 2 months of amateur experience. I'm blanking on which team it was right now. I didn't have that written in my notes, but he had very limited amateur experience before joining Winthrop, and that's where most of his competitive experience has been. Also, Magical, I think you're going to like this one based on your current getup. He has claimed that his unique headset placement allows him to gap other top laners. I believe we actually have a picture.
Yes.
There we go. Here's an example of that headset placement that apparently gives him a Bud that extra buff. So give me a rating, Magical, on the Magical scale. How legit is this?
As my boy Rafa would say, not enough drip.
Clearly not enough drip. Also, shout out to my bud's mom, who's also on the graphic right there. She's fantastic to have. She's on Twitter, engaging. She's probably in Twitch chat right now, laughing at Magical and his current drip. So
you can't move much. It's uncomfortable.
I imagine that the mic will pick it up a lot too if you try and move around. So let's bring our attention out to the opposition on the Rift here. 100 Thieves next. The darlings of amateur. 100 Thieves is maybe not crown jewel as they are defending LCS champions, but the narrative around this organization, this team, was how willing 100 Thieves has been to promote players from their amateur to the academy rosters going throughout the last years. And now carrying on that legacy, 100 Thieves next. Had a very strong showing through the qualifiers, but have been struggling so far here in Proving Grounds. So, Smacks, as we look at this roster, obviously, eyes are going to be on General Sniper.
I want to interrupt. Second seed Curse. It is time. Is Fnatic more powerful than the Curse, or is the Curse going to override it?
Fair, because Fnatic is the player that always knocks out the second seed teams in Proving Grounds, but now he's on the team that is second seed.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means. But I want to talk about General Sniper as the player that we're going to be highlighting in this match. So, Smacks, when we look at General Sniper, obviously very young talent, very hyped up talent in the North American pipeline. A lot of eyes are going to be on this guy.
Yeah, he's been crushing it in the amateur circuit as well. This team was undefeated for a very long time. Most of Sniper's first series ever in competitive were wins up until this point. They did get knocked to the lower bracket earlier in this tournament, but Sniper still did look really solid, and I think the entire team has acknowledged that he is a really big carry for this team because they do typically play around him. He's playing a lot of carries in that top lane, and he has done very, very well in that lane against a lot of the amateur top laners as well. Mabud is no exception, as 100 Thieves did in fact 2-0 them previously in the first circuit qualifier.
The fact that he reached Challenger at age 12, and also the family that he comes from. Of course, brother of Viper. That's the big name that a lot of people that are fans of LCS would probably recognize. This is one of the reasons why we hype up this player. Not only the background, the legacy that he's carrying from his family's past achievements, but also his current form. He's actually just cracked at League of Legends, and it's really exciting to watch how they're performing. But of course, they do find themselves in the lower bracket right now. But we do, of course, also have some further insight from General Manager of 100 Thieves, Papa Smithy, who had a very bold statement at the beginning of this year's split. It's no exaggeration. Bringing General Sniper into 100 Thieves was my #1 priority for our League of Legends program this offseason. This is just showing the weight of expectations on this player. That's a lot to carry with you. I'm going to give this one to Smacks. I was going to hand that one to Magical, but I realized Magical was wearing a literal knight costume, so he has other weight to worry about. But Smacks, that's a lot for a player.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I know that Sniper's older brother, the PhD student referenced in that graphic, acted as his agent in the offseason. So his brother definitely did a good job if he's getting that high praise from Papa Smithy. Of course, his play speaks for itself as well. Sniper has been doing a phenomenal job in his first ever split.
And of course, we will be watching him very closely going into this next series against Winthrop University. And with that said, I'm hearing that the players are now ready for a pick and ban. So as disappointed as I am, the Magical took off the chainmail. I am very excited to get into this next game. So, gentlemen, take it away.
Look, I had to ditch it. How am I supposed to cast a game when I can barely move, man? Anyways, we're getting ready for this game. I'm excited for this one. Aren't you, Smacks? This is the last stand of Collegiate against the #2 seed. Maybe the second seed Curse will come through for Collegiate teams.
Yeah, a lot of people had some very high expectations in this tournament for 100 Thieves Next. I was definitely one of them. I had them in, I believe, my top 6 at the very least. Some people had them going all the way to top 4. So honestly, the fact that 100 Thieves are even in this lower bracket was a shock to a lot of people. Just goes to show how well their opponents in FlyQuest played in that first round, but also that 100 Thieves do still have a lot of growing to do as a team and individually. I think that they were definitely taken aback at the big difference between the amateur side of things and the academy side, but I do expect them to have bounced back for sure for this match.
At least that's what we hope for their sake. It's the number 2 seed. I'll keep saying it this entire day and see if it actually comes through, because I have been talking about this since the very beginning, that whoever gets the 2nd seed is doomed to lose right away. They always go 0-4. There's no exception so far. As we get into this game, look at that. 100 Thieves Next ban away at Mabud's Tryndamere, so there will not be an early Tryndamere pick for them.
Yeah, you got to do that. Mabud is so confident on that champion. It is his most played, and when he is not on it, it doesn't look as impactful. And now a lot of that was because he was doing the Hullbreaker strategy from before. Sometimes he would go for teamfight styles with the crit, but it did warp a lot of the ways that Winthrop were able to play around the map when he was playing that champion. So 100 Thieves definitely acknowledging that. And also, they do want to have a better matchup in the top lane for their rookie top laner Sniper for sure.
Right. And that's, I think, why we saw that Tryndamere taken away. We're also seeing some other picks that have been popular for Winthrop. The Karma, you've seen the Karma flexed around a lot by Winthrop in the past, but Volibear too. The Hecarim is the one ban that hasn't been taken away that surprised me, and of course, is immediately grabbed by 100 Thieves.
Yeah, gotta lock that one in right away. The Irelia respect ban as well. I like that one a lot. To take that away from a Sniper. You'd usually expect that to also be a mid lane flex, but most of the time for Insanity, he is playing a lot of these control mages. It is what he has been most comfortable on across the entire split so far. And it is one of the reasons why Fnatic has such an easy time clearing away the jungle and taking advantages in that role. I would expect a very similar strategy against Winthrop, who sometimes can be very volatile in their mid jungle.
Yeah, and looking at Insanity as well. Ooh, that is interesting bot lane. And we actually got to see a little bit of this yesterday, and I'll get to that in just a second because I'm expecting a Xayah pick. We get the double lethality in the bot lane. But I really do want to hit on Insanity because this player has been in Academy in the past with Team Liquid and Immortals Academy briefly in the LCS. This player has a lot to prove, and we look at how well he's done so far during like the circuit qualifiers. He was really popping off. He's been struggling a bit here on the big stage. I really want to see if he's able to bounce back, especially with that Ahri pick.
Certainly more early game focus for Insanity in this game. This is not really that control mage style that we're used to seeing him play with the Victor and the Corki, but it does serve very well to bolster the early of Hecarim and make sure that he has some priority to work with. And this also is going to be helping out quite a lot for Insanity. This is a champion that you really want to be pushing in and then roaming on. And with Jace, we know the target already.
Exactly. That's why I was a little surprised. I thought that would be day for the second half of picks with the Xayah first be taken over by 100 Thieves Next, but they instead just get everything on the top half of the map. They've exposed a lot of their strategies on that side, but it's still going to be difficult for Winthrop to be able to counteract that because Jace is one of those champions that doesn't really have many counters as far as I'm aware.
For that top lane, Mabud does have a pretty interesting champion pool, so I would expect him to have something cool to play into this Jace. I mean, Malphite is there. That's an option. Maybe 100 Thieves want to ban that one away. We're going to find out. But for now here, Mad Magical, we do have the LeBlanc locked in for Ivano, and this does fit in the way that Ivano plays, and I'm most impressed by. In the late game team fights, he is stellar at being a late game clean up carry on these assassins, and LeBlanc does that very well. You can oftentimes see him at the end of a team fight. If he's still alive, he'll just get a triple kill out of nowhere, even after you'd expect the team fight to be over. So that excites me a lot here for Ivano game 1.
I am really excited for that. I like to see players, especially LeBlanc. This is a champion I used to play way back in the day, back when I actually spammed a lot before solo queue. Don't ask me where I ranked because it wasn't very impressive. But looking at this game and looking at Ivano versus Insanity, I think this is a case for Insanity who wants to prove that he deserves to get back to the Academy or to LCS as a whole. And then Ivano, if he's able to take down Insanity on LeBlanc into Ahri, that is a big showing for this collegiate player.
Certainly is. It's a tough matchup for all players, honestly, for LeBlanc into that Ahri, but it is one that is possible to outplay for sure, and Ivano is very comfortable on it. You called out the Malphite ban, Mad Magical. That one is gone. Mabud going to the second string tank instead. Sion is a champion that can build Hullbreaker and might end up being the case knowing Mabud. However, those team fights have been really big for him as well in this champion, and it certainly is a comfort pick for him all the same.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say, I'm not the biggest in the Jace Sion matchup. I have seen Sion solo kill Jace in the past, but it's usually more the Jace overextending and playing a little bit too aggressive when he really shouldn't. So into this matchup, it's pretty much just going to be a handshake, isn't it? It's just going to be both of them trying to clear out the waves, and ooh, Ezreal locked in for a Ray.
That's pretty cool in this matchup in specific, because this is Vex's most played champion. He, of all marksmen in the entire tournament, has the most unique pool because his first pick, his first most played isn't Jinx or Zeri or Aphelios. It is actually Ezreal. And he's also been playing a lot of other marksmen. This Misfortune is a good example of that. He pulled out the Lucian, the Senna Seraphine before as well. But all this to say, Vex should be very comfortable playing against his main champion. So Array's going to have to put in some extra work specifically here.
At least you're going to hope so, because if you take too much poke as Misfortune or as Ezreal, it's going to be a volatile lane regardless, with Leona and Nautilus in those lanes. But looking at the composition as a whole, you kind of actually highlighted amazing. We look at 100 Thieves next, and this is a team that wants to play towards the top side of the map.
Yep. They really do. They have a Jace up there in the top lane, and Ezreal down bot, very safe marksman that can survive a huge onslaught with just the arcane shift. With Leona on this roster rounding it out, you're going to want to roam up there alongside Fnatic's Hecarim and Insanity's Ahri. And in my opinion, this is the best form that we've seen out of Sword, when he is linking up with his jungler and completely stomping the top side of the Rift. This is one of the biggest picks for Sword in that way as well. So I'm really excited to see this newly role swapped support player really pop off in this game.
Then I look over to Winthrop, and I'm looking at this team. It's interesting because I'm expecting it's going to be Lethality Misfortune. Does that mean that Lee Sin is going to be the one to try to clean up the mid to late game for the team?
I mean, it could be. That's a pretty good point here. They mostly do just have burst on the side of Winthrop, not a lot of DPS. So if Vex is indeed going for the lethality burst style for Misfortune, it's much more oriented on the opener of a team fight. And if it goes any longer than that, even with Ivano being a big late game cleanup specialist, it can be pretty tough to break through.
Well, the only way to find out is getting into game. It is another elimination match. Winthrop University taking on 100 Thieves next. One team will fall today, knocked out of the Proving Grounds. One will march forward. Will it be the last stand of Collegiate, or will it be the number 2 seed from Amateur? We'll see right now, Smacks, as we get ready for our first game.
It's really interesting looking at these two teams in isolation compared to the rest of the field, Mad Magical, because for most of the teams in this tournament, they have one thing in mind and one thing only. They want to make a deep run so they can be scouted for the next step up, whether it's Academy looking for LCS spots or Amateur looking for the same, or just Academy replacements. Instead, a lot of the other teams have that in mind. For Winthrop and 100 Thieves next, it's pretty different. Winthrop really are here to bolster their competitiveness in the collegiate space. They really want to be competitive at that stage. And for 100 Thieves next, they're in an org that has a pretty good track record for getting players into Academy just by being on this organization in general. So they have that as a secondary option. And I'm sure for both of these teams, they're going to be together for longer than just the split for sure.
And we look towards the difference between the teams and what they're here to accomplish. I'm glad you talked about the scouting versus collegiate aspect, where Winthrop really are a team that are looking to improve, dominate in the collegiate sphere. Sure, it would love to be picked up by some of these teams as well, but 100 Thieves, that's what they were made for. They were made and drafted together. Like, you look back to their inaugural team as well. Very similar story. You had Tenacity, Kenvi on that team. where these were players that were scouted out to go pro, to get to the next level. And each of them were able to make it into the academy scene, some of them subbing in for the LCS squads.
And 100 Thieves Next, while that is one of the goals, the other goal is just to make sure that Sniper has competitive experience, because one advantage the 100 Thieves Next has over the other teams in this tournament is that they can actually field Sniper. He is too young to even play in Academy right now. You do have to be 16 to be on that team, 17 for LCS as well. And 100 Thieves, as shown by that Papa Smithy tweet from before, have made the claim that he will follow that exact track record by the years to come. I'm really glad that we are here witnessing the beginning of that journey today.
Oh, I love that there's a couple of those players we've had in this Proving Grounds that have that journey. Griffin from No Team is a similar story, 15-year-old jungler. Now we have Sniper here in the top lane, very young, hit Challenger at 12. That is impressive. To me, that is mind-boggling. Mostly because I've played this game since Season 1, and yeah, I've never gotten even close.
Also, Mad Magical, I believe League of Legends is rated T for teen, so he was kind of breaking the rules there, as he wasn't 13 yet.
Hey, I won't tell if you don't tell.
His parents.
I won't tell if you don't tell. Anyways.
Yeah, Sniper, certainly worthy of being on this team. He has shown some really big improvement as mid lane gank attempt.
I go underneath the turret, but the charm's going to connect on the Frost Force. Nothing further. Insanity, safe. It doesn't even burn the flash to get away.
And Frost Forest showing mid means the Sniper has all this extra free time to poke Mabud down and get some turret chip in as well. Super, super free to push in this wave. He doesn't even have to worry about warding quite yet. And this is really big news for Sniper and the rest of this team as well, because in this draft, he is the guy you want to play to. Once Sword starts to get some more levels into this Leona and gets a solid recall off, expect him and Fnatic to make a journey up to that half of the Rift.
Isn't that what we were talking about in the Champ Select 2, Smacks? We were saying how this top lane is what they're going to play around, and this is also why I'm not the biggest fan of Silence into Jace. You see the issue it has. You don't really wave clear that well into him because he can poke you from range, and then if he needs to go all in and get you off of the waves, he can consistently do that in the early stages of the game.
Seeing Fnatic, he's trying to make that a reality for Sword leaving this lane earlier rather than later. Wave not quite in a comfortable position, and as Fnatic on this Hecarim, you do never want to miss a beat when you're farming up. You are a secondary win condition on this team if you get into that late game and just become the huge, hulking, super fast juggernaut that Hecarim tends to be.
I see 400 Thieves. It's the Hecarim Ezreal as the late game insurance. Both those going to do very well once they get a couple more items in their belt. But that was a nice charm onto LeBlanc. Ivano tries to distortion back with the flash in, getting a lot of damage. The flash from Insanity for first blood.
There it is. That's the roam. It's beginning already before 5 minutes, Mad Magical, right into that mid lane. And looks like Winthrop were just not quite ready for Sword to go mid instead of recalling. We get a replay here, not in vision until he uses the distortion forward, and then the charm connects. This is one of the reasons why LeBlanc can be tricky into the Ahri matchup, because you can cancel out that dash so effectively with Ahri charm.
And we're seeing right now that both Insanity Sword, players that have played in the Academy circuit, they're really making a name for themselves in just these early stages. Getting that advantage over Ivano, so LeBlanc's not going to be out of control, snowballing the days. But now top lane, it's going to be Sniper, getting the attention from Kenji to counteract what had happened in mid. The flash was a bit late, but they had the flash coming in from Frost Force with the Sonic Wave, looking for the knockup. They've got the kill easily.
And Winthrop make the first strike in the top lane. That's huge. We already talked about how big it would be for Sniper to have a really big lead and able to shut down Mabud's Scion as well. Uno reverse card in the early game, Mad Magical, with Frost Forest and Kenji up there, completely stifling this one, at least for now.
Hey, you know what I like, though? That is a great play by Winthrop. The focus on that top side of the map, because that is the lane we were just talking about. We were talking about how this is going to be a lane that can be tricky. We're expecting Insanity, Fnatic, Sword to visit the top lane. So what do they do after they saw Sword mid? They gather up the members, they go top, make a play, try to put behind Sniper pretty quickly. It's right there, good distortion away from Ivano, but now he's in a tricky position, trying to get away. Distortion again, but followed up by the Spirit Rush with the charm. They give that over to Fnatic. No, Insanity takes it.
No way for Ivano to escape that one. As 100 Thieves Next, we're already trying to fully stack up on the bottom side of the Rift. We talked about how they really want to go top, but after the response play from Winthrop, they know it's fully safe to set up shop on that section. Kenji's not there to put any counter wards, and the Drake is up too, so they even get another prize after they find a kill. And honestly, for Vex, he's just happy that it wasn't him. He was under that turret with a huge wave stacked up.
Yeah.
If he lost that one, it would have been lights out for this early game misfortune.
Yeah, it could have been a lot more dicey for Winthrop's bot lane. They are, at the moment, a little bit ahead of Array and Sword, getting some early CS advantages, even going back, both of them, having that Tear the Goddess on each side of the ADC role. But I'm expecting to see not too much played onto Vex still. Even if you can crash these waves, you can look for a potential play. This is what I'm more expecting, is a play topside, but with that ward having just expired, but having spotted out Sword, they knew he was nearby topside.
It's also really difficult to kill Mabud, even in that 2 versus 1. You got a lot of crowd control there for Sword, but not too much damage. You're going to need to break through all of that with just a couple of long swords and a cull here for Sniper. That won't stop them from attempting it, perhaps, as Sword did take the blast plant.
Yeah, he did, but look at where Frostforce and Ivano were. They were roaming around. I think they don't know that they're nearby, so they can flip this play onto Mabud and then try to see if they can turn from the Rift Arrow. The flash comes out of Mabud with the Ignite taken away, taking so much damage. It is a kill freely for Sniper. The Rift Herald will be an exchange unless Fnatic can pull off a miracle right here. With 4 members nearby of Winthrop, I don't think you even want to look for the play. The chain connects on to Fnatic, but not going to be anything more. It's just going to be the eye taken by Frostforce, but Charm connecting onto Ivano. And even with that fear now onto LeBlanc, they chase them down, and Fnatic slices them apart.
Man, every single kill this game so far for Insanity has landed on this Charm. And Ivano now 3 deaths. This LeBlanc not working out at all. As this counter pick, we already touched on how deadly it really can be and how risky you have to play with this champion. We're seeing the worst of it right now, unfortunately, as Insanity is certainly popping off right now. We get to watch the top side skirmish one more time. I did mention how difficult it is to take Mabud down, and they actually were pretty close to not finding it, but that last swing with the hammer from Sniper does him in. And then we get to see Winthrop. They brought up their bottom lane duo for this, so they do miss out on a huge chunk of damage and gold going over to Array in the bottom lane. And they lose their mid laner as well. As we come back to life, look at that turret destruction.
Yeah, the only consolation prize that Winthrop have from that play is they do still retain the Eye of the Rift Herald. They can pop that wherever they might need be. I'm looking at where Frostforce is and what he is looking to do. I feel like you gotta get Ivano back into this game. You gotta get some plates off mid.
Just might here. I mean, for Mabud in these situations, this might be the time where you start building Hullbreaker on Sion, honestly. These team fights look really grim, and you don't have a lot of DPS at that stage either. This might be one of those moments where the only win condition you have moving forward is just taking those side lane turrets and being a nuisance, like he tends to do on the Tryndamere.
Honestly, I think you're right. I look at what's happening, and they do still have good 1-3-1, even if Ivano is behind. Eventually, he'll get some items under his belt. LeBlanc is always going to be scary late game if you are able to drag out the game long enough, despite how far behind she might be.
That's true. That's one of my favorite things about LeBlanc, is that she's an assassin that doesn't really fall off once you get into the late game. She's so slippery, and the AD carry champions are pretty much always free meals for the LeBlanc, apart from like literally Xayah, who goes invulnerable. That's just cheating, though.
That is true. Ooh. Charm finally missing from Insanity, but doesn't really matter because they have so much attention onto Kenji. Here's Bono trying to save the life of the support, but it does not work out. Insanity is on a tear. Another charm! Ooh. Insanity's charms are absolutely immaculate, even with the kick over the wall. The follow-up coming in with a sonic wave from Frostforce. Vex there to eat and destroy for Insanity for a shutdown. Fnatic might be next on the menu. He will be. Double kill for Lee Sin.
Great response there from Winthrop. Even with the charms landing again, it takes way too long to actually kill Kenji. He's super tanky on this Nautilus. He's got the Glacial Augment slowing them down too. And Winthrop do finally find themselves on the board in a meaningful way. 3 kills for the jungler of Frost Forest. And let's watch this play one more time. As you brought out, this is the first charm that's missed, it feels like.
It does. Insanity's been on point with this, but what I like is the counterplay coming in from Winthrop.
It's really easy for Misfortune to roam up, even without early boots, because she does have that Struck passive. She can walk all the way through that river like she has water walking and arrive on these plays. We've seen it a couple of times now. Vex able to make his way through, gives over some more turret damage, but he's participating in these plays, and Winthrop really needs a morale boost at the very least. Probably some more kills too.
Well, I honestly think that is a worthwhile trade. Rarely do I think that this early, when you have plate still up, that it's worthwhile, but right now Insanity's getting a revisit coming in from Frostforce, and again, is able to absorb it, just like you had at the early stages of the game.
That was a nice try, though, because there was a very small window where the Spirit Rush wasn't down. It's a really short cooldown for an ultimate most of the time, and Ivano and Frostforce did find it. They chunk out Insanity in this mid lane, and they do find an opportunity to use this Rift Herald where he can't clear it out immediately. So lots of gold into the pockets of Ivano and Frostforce, and I wouldn't be surprised if Frostforce is actually ahead in gold over Fnatic right now because of it.
That's what the thing is, I like to play mostly for getting Ivano a bit back into this game. So look at the deficit that is between Insanity and Ivano. Even with 2 assists to try to claw back into this game, even with 2 plates gifted over to Ivano, still down 1,500 gold. You need this LeBlanc to get a little bit more even against Ahri, because it is essentially an assassin versus assassin. Even if both of them don't function like normal assassins, one assassin being ahead of another is not the best situation.
Yeah, you also do have a bit of a downside here for Ivano, where your mythic item is more expensive than Insanity's Everfrost, much cheaper than Luden's Echo, and you don't really have an option on LeBlanc in this game. You need to go Luden's, because you need that Magic Pen and the extra burst damage from the Pulse. Yep. So Ivano really needs that item spike to come in sooner than later. Again, I do like the choice made because of this to send the Rift Herald into mid lane, but we need more for Winthrop to actually get in there.
And while that was all happening, Winthrop Thieves next did get the second dragon of the game. It is a Hextech Rift that we now face. Hextech Dragon and Soul being one of the strongest and already having a 2-step lead towards there. Winthrop Thieves next. They've got a good position for themselves, especially when you look at how Sniper is playing into Mabud. He can play so aggressively because we have the Garage Sale build coming in from Mabud. He's had to do that in order to survive a little bit more of the damage that the Sniper's able to unleash on top of him. Now having a level lead, look at this. He's just constantly fighting Sniper, making sure that everyone knows why he was the one that 100 Next built this team around.
And Sniper does have the armor shred there with a stance swap auto attack. So even with all of these garage sale components, Mabud has to be so careful. He doesn't have the plated steel caps in this game either, which tends to help quite a bit, but we'll be delaying that one for later, as that is a full turret. Yeah. First turret here for Sniper. They only needed to send one gank up there, and it was Sword on this Leona. Ever since then, it's been brutal.
My god, do you see these charms landing smacks? It's every time, and now that Solar Flare Sword playing around his mid laner. Both of them are saying, bring us back to Academy.
And if Insanity's been able to land these Ahri charms this whole split, why have I watched like 30 Corki games from him? I feel like I've been robbed away from all of these mechanics on this player.
Now you know why I hated the Corki Victor meta. I absolutely despise that, because it did not show the full skills of our players like this.
Yeah, man, these charms have just been so beautiful. The Everfrost makes it a bit easier, but even still, you have to kill the minion before he even landed it through. So smart with the heads-up knowledge. And Insanity again finds another kill onto Ivano, further delaying that Luden's. So we come back to live, we can see Insanity. He's got components for his next item. He's already thinking for the future, but Ivano, he's in the struggle bus for sure. He's still components on that first mythic item.
The problem with the draft that Winthrop have is, well, bot lane might be able to crash and take a turret for themselves to equate what had happened on the top side of the map. You can't really move around these lanes too efficiently. You've already got Mabud indexing heavily into the armor into this chase matchup. Mid lane, who want to get Ivano out of the matchup against Insanity as much as you would like to, you just can't.
It's a good point here. We're going to need to see a lot more magic resistance from Mabud if he's going to be the person to match Insanity. And Ivano is certainly struggling at this point. There was an objective bounty claimed in the bottom lane here by Vex, who is actually keeping up with items as we have another play.
This seems like an aggressive play. Coming in from 100 Thieves next with the Solar Flare landing again. Everfrost doesn't connect, but waiting for the charm. Does not throw it out. Instead, will retreat from the fight.
Hex Gates out. We got the fun rift today here at Mad Magical. I'm excited about that one, but
Okay,
the play it doesn't quite land.
Sam, I'll tell you this. Well, yes, Hex Rift is fun.
It is.
I also think that the Rift itself is the most detrimental thing for any team. Because how many times I have seen people use that into the enemy team and die immediately after is a lot.
I haven't actually seen that much.
Oh,
I think
God,
you're
I've
watching the
seen
wrong
it
kind of games.
I mean,
Maybe
I'm just watching the Academy games, my dude.
I was gonna say maybe you weren't kidding about your rank not being so impressive when playing solo queue here.
Look, hey, shut up. Just because I still play Nautilus mid does not mean anything.
All right, I'll take your word for it. But yeah, it can have that effect for sure. We'll have to see if that happens today, or if this is just another one of those shenaniganeries that you have at your disposal.
Aw, you're just trying to win me over, aren't you?
I did just flame your solo queue rank,
Yeah, but
so you get the best
look,
of both
look,
worlds.
I flame my own solo queue, let me be honest. I know that my skills are in memes, and that's about it. So I'll take people copying my words instead.
All right. Well, for Winthrop, they really need to bounce back in this one and take away this dragon. Because like we were talking about, Hextech Soul, very powerful. Static Shiv on all of your hits is very scary. And with this Rift Herald in mid lane, it doesn't look like they can divert all of their attention over to that Drake. They've given up all their footing.
Right, and that was a smart heads-up play coming in from 100 net.
Uh-oh.
They
Don't
were
face check
already
this.
able to set that up. Barely, the charm did not connect there. That charm connects, they can easily full engage, but instead, they're just going to pull the trigger onto this dragon. They got it so low, unless Frost Force can pull off a miracle right now, they're not going to be able to seal it away. It is already secure. Third dragon of the game for 100 next. And here is the full engage. Looking for Flex Splash. They've already got one. Mabud's dead. Two. Zombie form. There's going to go Vex. They've got a dominating Insanity. He is on a killing spree on this Ahri.
3-0 on the play, Magical. Oh, it's just so brutal. And you got to see Kenji. He was trying his best to just get his ultimate down, but he died before he could even press the button. All of this burst here for 100 Thieves next. They have this gigantic lead, a turret to fall as well, and they're on soul point too. Look at Kenji, man. Oh, it's such a tragedy.
I'm just gonna watch him really quick. Oh, yep, died. And I'm also gonna go back on. You said they are so far ahead. Insanity is so far ahead.
True. But he's got Horizon focus now off this replay, but we get to see him with all these resets. He's a self-made man this game too. Usually I really like drafting Ahri with a lot of burst just to guarantee that you get those resets off. But Insanity's the one dealing all of his own damage. He's that far ahead in this game. And, I mean, you can see the lead right there. Nearly 3,000 just in the isolated mid matchup. Looking for a play onto Mabud.
Arm does not connect. One of few that has not actually hit its target, but they got a lot of damage onto Mabud regardless. So this tanky Sion ain't looking so tanky.
He's only got that Null Magic Mantle to avoid the damage. And now that Sniper and Insanity are linking up to make these plays together, he really needs to have the best of both resistances to survive that. If that charm landed, he was definitely dead.
Oh, for sure. But it doesn't really matter. You've chunked out Mabud. You're forcing him back so you can get more priority around the map and make sure you scout out other areas where you know Winthrop are. 100 Thieves next have such an advantage. Even if it seems like they're pushed back into their base at the moment, they're just waiting it out. They've already set up this split push.
They don't need to go for anything drastic because they know Sniper is winning the bot lane 1v1 and they can keep everyone over here. Nice hook.
That was a nice hook onto Insanity. That's the hero. If they can kill Insanity, get rid of this Ahri, that means they can win the fight. They've already done so, even if Vex is the one traded. Now they have to retreat with that shutdown bounty they've just picked up, and here Sniper flashing in, but it is nice distortion away, coming in from Ivana to dodge away from all of that. Sonic Wave not going to be able to connect, but looking for the dash away. Cross Force, the next target, the one Fed member. He is torn apart by Fnatic, and now 100 next can look straight for this Baron.
Man, I love that hook and the ultimate combo from Kenji onto Insanity. They knew he didn't have Spirit Rush, and Winthrop has done a great job of punishing that cooldown, but now that Frost Forest is dead, the fight is not worth it because they very well could completely lose the Baron off of this. Alvano's not even going to try to get into the pit. They don't have any globals. 100 Thieves next secure the Baron.
A Baron for themselves, 3 dragons already in their inventory. We look at this replay, and at first it is a very nice play. The pull and the kill eventually onto Insanity is a great start.
I do want to highlight as well that Fnatic keeps keeps Vex completely out of the fight and completely solo kills him too on this Hecarim. Terrifying stuff to see the horse running down your marksman, and there's no peel available because Kenji is so busy trying to lock down the Fed member on 100 Thieves next. He does so successfully, but he can't be in both places at once, and that's what his team really needs him to do now that they are this far behind. Definitely been there as a support.
Plus, that was essentially a 4v5 for
true.
Winthrop, because Mabud was not able to join. He was waiting for the TP angle to get in to help out his team, but they kind of died before that would have actually come through, so he held off the entire time, went to catch the minion wave bot, just make sure they're not fully losing everything.
I like that Winthrop are trying this right now. They know that they're not going to be able to win a calculated team fight, so going for some sort of pick play is really all they can do to find any sort of advantage and take away these Baron buffs. Nobody stationed in bottom lane to do this, though. They might lose an inhibitor.
I was about to say, what are they going to lose for trying to set up that play? They've already lost out a lot in the spot lane. That inhibitor turret's taken a good amount of damage down below the threshold as Insanity was able to find Mavod with a nice charm again. That's the Spirit Rush coming over and over and over again. Insanity is insane in this game.
That's in the name right there, Mad Magical, as Kenji tries to dredge line, goes through
whoa. No, you didn't want this fight, Winthrop. This is not what you needed to have happen. Now you're just getting run into your base.
No.
You're forced back, and this should be 100 next, taking game 1.
That's it right now. Frostforest has the kick, but he can only kick one person, and he needs to be able to clear out these minion waves trapped in his own base by the rookie top laner for 100 Thieves next. They continue their dominance over other amateur teams, and they'll take game 1 of the series.
Game 1 for 100 next. Even if Frostforest takes that one down with them, it is still the first game of our best of 3 going over to our number 2 seed here in Proving Ground.
Frostforest got that last kill. That's pretty cool. He had 5 out of 5 of his team's kills to close that one out, but unfortunately, the advantages across the map were completely on the other side of the rift. 100 Thieves next keep up their dominant streak against the other amateur teams, and they continue to try to push further in Proving Ground Spring 2022.
Now, Collegiate's last hope is 1 game away from being knocked out.
Yeah.
They gotta win the next 2 games handedly if they will, or even just at all, if they want to continue the ride for Collegiate to show that the CLOL is here to compete with all the rest. You know, only time will tell if they can bounce back from such a devastating loss.
For 100 Thieves next at this point, Magical, they are 1 game away from making it into the Civil War, because the team that is awaiting them on the other side of this series is 100 Thieves Academy. I know that they really want to make it all the way to that series, and it's looking convincing so far, to say the least.
So far, especially off the back of Insanity, absolutely massive on that Ahri, but we're going to toss it a break. When we come back, we'll have our halftime show with our host, Kangas. Make sure you stay tuned.